Stack 9866, opinions on intermittent fasting to help immune system and lower blood sugar. Very clear opinion. I think intermittent fasting is a big deal. I think it helps immensely. You know, quite often you see me focus on some of the larger, more respected medical journals like New England Journal of Medicine, Nature Magazine, JAMA, some of the others. But I will tell you, quite often it takes a while for those more recognized science magazines to get it. Intermittent fasting was just one of those. Intermittent fasting has been discussed and it's been described in a lot of medical journals, science journals. And I just saw the first one on it the day after Christmas, I believe, in the New England Journal on intermittent fasting. They had a great article on it. I covered it. If you'd like to see that, let us know. We can get you that article. Basically what they're saying is, you know, even in some of the older, as in decades old, research in the New England Journal, they were talking about caloric restriction and it being a big deal. And you remember that was the thing 20 years ago. Well, what they were showing was they went back and looked at some of the data and they were actually putting some of the lab rats through intermittent fasting. So what they were doing was they were feeding the lab rats once. They were feeding them less than what they were normally feeding them. And the rats were competing over the food. They do that small feeding, the rats would come in, eat all of it up, and then they wouldn't eat again for another 24 hours. What they realized that they were doing was setting up intermittent fasting. That article, again, I went into some of the details. It was very interesting. It went into some of the metabolic components. It's been demonstrated that if you go through some of this intermittent fasting on a regular basis, in other words, go back and forth between having plenty of calories and not having enough calories, you start going back and forth into appropriate anti-inflammatory metabolism. Your inflammatory markers drop. A lot of good things happen. Your body goes into some autophagy. Auto meaning self and phagy meaning to eat. So you're basically starting to burn things like lipids and fats, that inflammatory things that shouldn't be lying around, but continue to lie around as long as we've got too many calories coming in most of the 24-hour period. So intermittent fasting is a big, big deal. And even some of the ivory towers of medicine have begun to acknowledge and say, yeah, you really should be doing that. It helps with your immune system. It helps with inflammation.
Continue to get great feedback regarding the webinars. And here's why. You know, on the internet, when you hear a webinar, you expect for somebody to try to sell you something. We're not doing that. We're trying to tell you something. People are coming in with their labs from Quest, Inflammation Panel, OGTT, insulin survey response, and then they're finding out, do I have inflammation? Do I have insulin resistance? And where does that fit in terms of other folks? We're getting ready to start one for CIMT as well. So again, people are really excited about finding out their own status. Looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks.